In the 16th through 20th essays in the Breaking Smart series, Software is Eating the World, two of the main kind of focuses I feel like in these particular essays is some on the freedom that has allowed a lot of this software to happen, a lot of these changes, and then two, kind of the capabilities and potential of this software, kind of the capabilities of what it's come to now in this day, and then the potential of where it can be very soon. So first off, just this line kind of between the virtual and the physical worlds that is getting very much blurred in recent years, especially. It talks a little bit about 40 years ago, something like virtual reality was something only companies like NASA, big companies with NASA, had capabilities to do. Very difficult to do something like that. And now there's technology that allows smartphones to capture 3D imagery. So just the potential that's there is huge. And even honestly, kind of bridging the gap geographically. I don't know exactly where he was going with this part, but he talks a little bit about how, if you're walking down the street at night, you're limited in that you will see only the other people who are there on the street with you. But with some of the, like, virtual reality, like if you're wearing goggles, the VR goggles, whatever, you're able to see people all over the world, no matter where they are. Like I said, I don't know exactly where he was going with this, but it makes me think of stories like Ready Player One, where everyone's in this virtual reality, kind of create all these other things. And who knows what's really going to happen? But basically, just the gist of it is all of the potential that's there with new software that's coming out and allowing people to experience the world in a different way than they have been before. Another thing he talks about is a lot of this development has been because of a new problem solving technique, I guess you could say. So there's kind of the lowest form of problem solving, which you see a lot in government. He mentions there, which is this idea of something must be done. This is something. This must be done. And so that's a horrible way to go about it. Then there's kind of the next level up of kind of goal setting. So this is my problem. I need to get it back to this goal. Let's go there. But then there's one more level that he discusses that has created a lot of this, and that's more of a tinkering mentality going into problem solving, of not saying, I've got this problem, I need to get it back to here where I was, saying, hey, I've got this problem, let's experiment with it, let's tinker it with it, let's mess with it. And then sometimes you create something totally different because you're not aiming for this specific goal. You're just kind of have the freedom of experimenting with it, and some incredible creations can come because of that. And a lot of software, I think, is a result of tinkering, not goal setting. Reminds me once again of that Henry Ford quote that I quoted yesterday, or at least it's attributed to Henry Ford, of if I'd asked my customers what they wanted, they would have demanded faster horses. So people just kind of have this narrow mindset of, this is what we have to work with, instead of thinking outside the box and saying, hey, where can we get to? The last thing was just kind of what's allowed this to happen. And a lot of that he talks about is started kind of 19th century, Industrial Revolution, two freedoms that happened, freedom of people and freedom of ideas. So in that time was when there was a lot of, people were not property as much anymore, with slaves and all that. People were their own people. They were free to do what they wanted. And then the second was this freedom of ideas, of, people weren't tied to a single purpose. I've talked about in a previous video about how basically before 1800, people kind of just had to live. They had to do what they had to do to survive. And there wasn't much freedom beyond that. But when you allow for, like in this Industrial Revolution, the capabilities that happened and the freedoms that people had, they were able to pursue more than one idea. And this allowed more collaboration with ideas and more tinkering with things, because people weren't spending all of their time on one thing. So kind of the moral of that is that, free people create free networks, and just the capabilities that can happen when that happens is incredible.